Last week, Pastor Philip Caminiti and 7 members of his Aletheia Bible Church in Wisconsin were charged with multiple counts of child abuse for striking children as young as 2 months old with wooden rods. These Christian criminals, firm in their literal belief that if you spare the rod, you spoil the child, struck these children for quote-unquote being emotional, grumpy, or crying, and failing to sit still during church services. The thick wooden rods used to hit the children were 12 to 18 inches long, with a diameter near the size of a quarter. The popularized phrase, "spare the rod, spoil the child," comes from Proverbs chapter 13, verse 24, which substantively says, "He that spares the rod hates his child, but he that loves his child quickly corrects his child by way of punishment." Literally, a rod is a stick or cane of wood. But does God really want us to beat our children? Of course not. The central problem here is, once again, Christianity's love affair with literalism. The Bible tells us how it is to be interpreted when it reveals that the literal word is dead and kills the living spiritual message. We are to disengage our minds from literalism and instead embrace the spiritual substance of the matter. The rod is not a literal stick, but refers to the rod of God, which is the governance of God's righteous justice, or, as you sow, so shall you reap. Consider the imagery of a shepherd caring for his sheep. The shepherd uses a rod to herd his sheep and to drive away the wolves. This is a metaphor. The shepherd is Jesus Christ, who, by any name, is the way, truth, and life of the Spirit of God, the Spirit of selfless love. The sheep are those that sow and reap the Spirit of God. The wolves are those that do not. The rod that gathers the sheep and drives away the wolves is the righteous justice of God. Those that live to sow the Spirit shall be gathered together by the rod of God naturally, because as they sow, so shall they reap. Likewise, those that deny the Spirit shall also be gathered together by the rod of God, reaping what they have sown. Spare the rod, spoil the child means that we are not to spare children the enlightenment about the righteous justice of as you sow, so shall you reap. To withhold this enlightenment from children is to spoil them in unenlightenment. Children must understand that they are responsible for the selfish things they do publicly and privately, and that, though they may not be literally punished by their parents or by the authorities for doing these things, they are spiritually punished, that is, their souls are punished as a direct result of their selfishness. As we sow spiritual darkness or selfishness, we build that darkness within our souls, which is a punishment upon our souls. It is a punishment we bring upon ourselves. The more we sow darkness, the more our souls are punished or filled with darkness and consequently further drawn away from the light. The only way we can reverse this process is by repenting of our selfish ways and instead sowing and reaping the light of selfless love. God is the Spirit of selfless love and is not a slave master. The Spirit of selfless love does not force our souls to love and apply the Spirit of selfless love. If we know that we shall reap what we sow, then there is no one to blame but ourselves for what, in the end, we reap. Spare the rod, spoil the child is not about beating children, but teaching them about sowing the seeds and reaping the fruits of selfless love instead of sowing and reaping selfishness. The reason why Pastor Caminiti and 7 of his followers punished those children with literal rods is because dead literalism rules over their minds. If the great Abrahamic religion stopped embracing dead literalism and instead embraced the living Spirit of God, the Spirit of selfless love, then peace would reign over them naturally, and, of course, they would never think to beat their children, but instead enlighten them to the revelation of as you sow, so shall you reap. Thank you.